We are live. Hello and welcome to an emergency episode of the CyberSpace podcast.
Welcome back. Emergency podcast.
I play the siren at the same time. It's actually the podcast intro. Sirens, everyone.
Emergency podcast. The boys jumping on.
The biggest IT outage in history.
Danger.
Hello and welcome back to the CyberSpace podcast. It's myself, Josh, your host, the product specialist, former security analyst, threat hunter, joined with Robbie.
Hello, Robbie Steele, SOC technical consultant, ex-SOC team lead. Happy to be here. It's all been booting off today. I've been enjoying it. I don't know. I feel bad saying that, but you know, like enjoying somebody else's demise. But I don't know. It's just so interesting.
I think demise is a little hasty. I'm not sure that either those big beasts are gonna kind of not bounce back from this.
Have you seen the stock options?
Yeah, that's what the stock market does, right? They pop it down so they can make a quick buck. I don't know enough about the stock market, but I've watched a few movies. But
yeah, it's ebbs and flows. But
yeah,
what a day.
I mean,
Drama.
let's not take away from how big this is, though. This is like I say quotation marks, the biggest outage in IT history. I know people haven't been able to work today. I know planes haven't taken off. I know TV broadcasts haven't gone out. Banks can't transact. Hospitals have not been able to deliver the care that they need. And this, as far as we know right now, and let's just note that we are recording this 5 p.m. 19th, the day of all this news coming out. We aren't aware this is a cyber attack. This is, as far as we know, a monumental cock-up.
Well, the conspiracy theorists would say that this is all part of the Great Reset.
Oh, yeah. We'll get into some, maybe not conspiracy theories, but we will discuss what this could be and maybe what you and I were speculating this morning, because it's filled my day up as well. I work for a company that's in a similar space, and everybody was sharing memes about it, articles about it. Can we do a post on LinkedIn? Can we do this about it? How can we ride off the tailcoats of this? Obviously, we did none of that. We were like, hey, this could happen to anyone. We've been there where we've had, not this big, but we've had our own kind of problems. It happens in the security world. But how was your morning?
Yeah, I mean, I only do my part-time role at the start of the week, but I'm still signed in to Microsoft Teams, and everything was working all right for us. And yeah, the convos, I was catching a few of the different group chats. My guys, the SOC analysts, were sending out security advisories to all customers that were affected, just giving them a bit of an update on the situation, like running commentary. Basically, the first one was talking about the Microsoft outage, and then I think they did send a second one out because obviously it is related to CrowdStrike. So they sent a second one out to customers. But yeah.
Well, should we explain that? Should we explain exactly for people who might not, who are living under a rock or who aren't as technically minded or exposed to it as we are?
How simply can you break it down for us?
How simply? So there's lots of it. So Microsoft down, CrowdStrike's down. What has happened is that, and as far as we're aware from the information that we have available, is CrowdStrike have a tool called Falcon. It has a sensor. It's basically an endpoint detection response tool.
It's like a next generation antivirus is the best way to describe it.
Yeah, it's security on your Windows devices. That could be your server, and it could be your workstation, your computer, your laptop. Most things are Windows. Windows dominates the market. And if anyone who had that CrowdStrike also installed it, pushed out, call it an update. The CEO didn't want to say it's an update, but I think that's neither here nor there. They pushed something out that they like you do every day. We always say security, update your devices. They need to be updated. This update broke everything. It sent it into a boot loop, so it's just like a logic error. It's running around in circles, chasing its tail, and then blue screen of death, which is, Robbie,
This was what you used to have on your Xbox back in the day when it broke.
It's what happened to me when we were setting up this call. I got hit by it. I don't have CrowdStrike, but I messed up my computer somehow. But yeah, it's that big blue screen that says something's wrong. Press F1 to try and work it out.
Yeah, there's not a lot you can do really to even fix that.
Yeah, And so as far as when I was looking at this, a lot of people have been like, hey, Microsoft is out. Hey, CrowdStrike is the reason. But then some things have been pointed directly at Microsoft, no mention of CrowdStrike. I still think that the outage was caused by CrowdStrike, but we've also seen not just Microsoft devices or Windows devices that companies use. So that's why the banks can't work. That's why the airports can't work, because their machines are basically bricks and no one can log in and do anything. But also Microsoft Azure was down for a bit. It's back up and running already, as well as Office 365 and some of their other cloud service apps. Rob, do you have any thoughts on, is this linked? Is this separate?
It's got to be linked, hasn't it? I mean, yeah, they've just from the news that we've seen so far, they have stated that they do use CrowdStrike Falcon on some of their resources, and Microsoft are part of the big three. A lot of people, there's millions of people, thousands of companies that are utilizing Microsoft Cloud storage, Microsoft Cloud resources, hosting all of their infrastructure in the cloud. We've heard the term on-premise, cloud, hybrid. Everybody is moving their tech stack into the cloud, and yeah, it's a crazy day.
What's been interesting for
Microsoft
the cloud side of things is that because it's not just people who use CrowdStrike. Then it's like my partner works at her company. She can't do certain things because they depend on the Microsoft Cloud services. So this has had a huge, even bigger knock-on effect. That you don't actually have to be using CrowdStrike, which a lot of people do. I think off the top of my head, they've got to be one of the most popular security tools for endpoint security. They sponsor Super Bowl commercials. They're on F1 cars. They got money to burn, so they must have got that somewhere. But yeah, it's gone beyond just that, and so many people can't work today. Some people have been celebrating. I've been listening to the radio. They've been like, yeah, no, can't do anything, can't log into my services. But yeah, you made a point there about those cloud things, and I think early on we were talking about having too many eggs in one basket, that kind of idea of resiliency being spread out so that you can, if one part goes down, you can do something else. Do you want to expand on that point, where you were going? Because I thought it was quite an interesting concept, not something I'd really thought about this morning.
Yeah, before I go on, I just wanted to bring up one of the LinkedIn posts that was floating around, and I don't know who it was actually from. It was some random company, but they were talking about the temporary fix that you could apply to try and get your device back up and running, and it was booting into safe mode, opening up File Explorer, trying to navigate to the System32 directory, and then renaming that CrowdStrike Falcon file to something else. And we were posting about it in our school community, weren't we? And I made a comment saying, Glenda from finance isn't going to be able to boot a computer into safe mode and try and rename some config file, is she? So it's all well and good having this like temporary fix for everyone, but the majority of the public, even small medium-sized businesses, they're not really, they're not going to be implementing this temporary fix. They're going to be sort of sitting on their hands, stressing out because they're losing money. And yeah, I guess it's going to be a pretty staggering figure, the amount of business that was lost in that space of time today.
People are going to be working all weekend to get this fixed as well. I've seen a few different workarounds. The CrowdStrike CEO also shared one. Sorry, the cat is taking over the stream right now. He wants to be fed an hour early, which is just not okay. So I'm going to get rid of it.
Oh no, mate. Still sick.
So, but Day One Dens, one of the guys in our community, he's an IT help desk guru, and that's the first thing he shared. Very interested to see his perspective. Was that workaround, how to kind of rename or delete that file and get things up and running again. I've seen some stuff on LinkedIn and Reddit as well that hasn't been so kind. If I may, I want to share my favorite meme of the day, which I shared on LinkedIn. I felt a little bad doing it because it doesn't seem too right, but I kind of shared the Reddit link, so it wasn't fully my own thing. But let me share screen.
We've got to do it though. You've got to poke fun a little bit. We did share a little meme reel as well, which was supposed to be in jest. This was part of it as well, wasn't it?
This was it. This is my favorite one. So CrowdStrike have a really strong slogan: "Stop breaches, drive business." That appears whenever you search them on Google or whatever. And for those listening and can't see the screen, someone has edited the Windows and drive part to reread as CrowdStrike, stop Windows, no business.
So good. The just the general public, the amount of memes that people can produce immediately after something happens, you know, like I don't know, like Trump getting shot and like this happening, you know, it's just that people are just so quick to just create these very on point, poignant, witty memes, and it's incredible to see.
Well, that could be the AI, but I don't think there's definitely other people doing that. I think we used to work with people who would create a meme in a drop of a hat. Someone would say something in a SOC meeting, and next thing you know, they've created an image of you, not flattering one either, like kind of rinsing you for what you just did.
Yeah. Going back to the all eggs in one basket, we were talking right before we went live about, I don't know, the notion of people potentially stepping away from wanting to use the big three, you know, Google,
big three being
Microsoft.
AWS, Amazon, sorry, the same one, Amazon, AWS, Google, GCP, and Azure, Microsoft.
That's definitely. Or maybe using them and having the majority of their infrastructure in there, but having that disaster recovery situation where they can fail over to a small company that does hosting services. I think that's going to happen. I think that will be the catalyst, and that will be the main takeaway from this whole situation is, you can put your trust in a big organization, but you know, just because they're a big entity and a massive conglomerate, it doesn't mean that they're still going to fail in the small details, you know, the minor processes. Look at the Secret Service or the local PD that with that everything that happened with Donald Trump. Like, they're supposed to be the biggest team, and you know that they can still make mistakes. And it's the same thing with CrowdStrike and Microsoft. They can still make mistakes.
I think, to be fair to them, we should also mention that these businesses are up and running and making things tick most of the time. I think they have like 99.9% availability is usually the metric that's touted. I wonder if today has knocked that down and they might have to change it. But for the most part, they're always there. I think your point is just, don't put all your eggs in one basket. If you're in a few different areas, then you can fail over to another region. You can even have disaster recovery sites where you've got the exact same infrastructure set up somewhere, but it's just dormant, waiting to be switched on and kind of take over the other stuff. But that wouldn't work unless you're using virtual desktops. You know, people's machines, their kind of their laptops and desktops, their tills, whatever they're using. I don't think that's going to solve that problem. So Windows it's the problem with being the big beast, right? When it goes wrong, it goes monumentally wrong, and everybody knows about it. And you mentioned, I don't want to get into no Donald Trump stuff at all, but conspiracy-wise, it triggered in my head. What we were talking about with some of the community this morning, or certainly I was could this be? I looked at it's either massive incompetence or an honest mistake. So let's say, put those in the same category, or it's something more sinister. And you would expect that organizations would test out updates before they push them out, even if it's just to a few machines, just to make sure that nothing terrible happens. You would expect that they should roll them out like in a sequentially thing. So if something does really bad happen, they can pause it and stop it. They didn't do that. But let's focus on the kind of testing beforehand. So I assume that they've done everything right. They've tested it. Oh, it looks good. Now they go push it out. So I thought, okay, if I can assume that they should have done that, because they should have, did it get changed in transit? Did it get changed at the last minute? Has somebody tried to sneakily embed a little bit of malicious code or something that they could then install as kind of a backdoor as part of a supply chain compromise, and basically push themselves out onto every CrowdStrike installed machine with a tool that has kernel level access? That's why it was able to break everything. It has kernel level access. For those who don't know, that's like the strongest level of access you can do to read, write, and change and modify everything. And it needs that level of access in order to be able to detect fileless malware attacks, in order to take action to kill processes and so on, and stop malicious stuff from happening. But because it has that level of access, if you make a mistake or somebody's able to install themselves in there, they're king of the castle. They have control of everything. So, Rob, maybe that's a little bit tinfoil hat, but did that cross your mind at anything that this could be something way bigger? I know CrowdStrike have clearly said this is not a security incident, but we still do wonder.
that definitely did cross my mind as soon as it came in this morning. Some of my mates just in my regular group chat were asking me, what's going on? Is this malicious? And yeah, you're right. It does have to sit. The agent has to sit at that kernel level on the end device, because you don't want the end user being able to actually delete that CrowdStrike agent from that device. But yeah, if it was a malicious actor, it was brilliantly executed, because that's the main goal of an adversary, right? Is they want to try and do the most amount of damage possible, and spread their evilness as far as it can possibly go. And yeah, if it was somebody, and yeah, what a job that they actually did.
You
Fair
admire
play.
it, even though it's gonna,
Yeah,
if it is, you're going to dominate your life for the next year trying to repair it and fix it. So, such is the
yeah.
security community, right? You'll watch an attack happen, you'd be like, that was well done, that's awesome. Like, then you jump to
Yeah.
kind of fixing it. If this is that, though, which we are not saying it is, in fact, if anything, I've calmed down from my initial thoughts this morning, where I'm pretty confident that we're not going to see any sort of fallout from this. But when I was speculating, I was like, this has got to be nation level, state sponsored type stuff to be able to achieve such a big compromise, because you'd have to compromise CrowdStrike from the outside in, and then slowly found your way to be able to be part of their dev prod push out, so you could put yourself in an update and then kind of go out there. We've seen this happen in like the Kaseya, which I think 2018, where they did it for software that was used for remote management. We have seen some other ones as well, but that's probably the most high profile. So it does happen. I think we're probably not in this instance. And if it was a nation state, usually they like to be really sneaky and quietly. So if it was, they messed up, because they shouldn't have bricked anything. Whoever did this messed up, whether it's a legitimate user or a malicious user, because bricking stuff means something's wrong. It's meant to be a sneaky little, hey, I'm in there. And
yeah, unless they just wanted to cause absolute chaos.
Yeah, chaos. That's another option. Hey, hacktivism. Maybe this is. You said Great Reset. I think that maybe this is the different type of reset. This is let's go back to the Stone Age, when everything, the good old days.
Yeah, someone's just popped into the YouTube live chat.
This is live, guys.
Season 23.
Shout out to you. Let us know if you have any questions. But Rob, I want to ask you a couple of questions about, what do you think? How can this? What lessons can we take from this? Like, what should we learn, and what should we not learn? What might be the lessons? So it's a good question, but there might be some lessons that other security leaders or IT leaders are thinking now, hey, next time I'm not going to do it like this. What are maybe the good lessons to learn? What are maybe the risky lessons that people might be pondering over right now?
I think the biggest lesson is, I think it's got to be disaster recovery, hasn't it? Because a lot of people are just blindly putting their trust in companies and then being very reactive to situations. So I think the biggest takeaway is to try and be more proactive, try and future-proof your business, because at the end of the day, there's going to be thousands of companies that have lost out on a lot of money today, and that's really the only thing that they care about is money. So the lessons learned and the reflection is going to be, how can we save money next time?
I think it will grease some wheels, get some budgets unlocked to kind of invest in some disaster recovery setups. The disaster recovery vendors right now are rubbing their hands together, I'm sure. But I think that is a good point. It's about resilience. That's more operational resilience. We talk a lot about cyber resilience, being able to withstand and recover quickly from an attack. This is more recovering from an outage, so more operational. But there's similar principles. We kind of walk hand in hand with IT operations stuff. The one I'm concerned about, we'll focus on lessons for organizations using these tools. The one I'm concerned about is that they're going to be scared of updates. They're going to not want to update their software, whether that's security or not, because they're like, hey, what if it breaks everything? We already see that with like patches, right? If people have a web application, website, there are vulnerabilities found in that almost every day. And you have to go and patch them. It's kind of an endless task, but there's usually a window. I think on average it's like 10 days to patch a critical, within 10 days, and it gets to like 30 for a medium, or 45 days. So people already take their time with some of those bits. I think this was an automatic update that's pushed out, but I could really see people now asking for, hey, I'm not comfortable with you automatically being to push out an update that could brick my entire organization. I want to have control. Let me be the one to decide to go out there. And I've actually seen fingers being pointed at both Microsoft and CrowdStrike for this. Like, how can you allow a kernel level update like this to be pushed out without any kind of warning or buying or opt-in that then can have this level of consequence? Again, this doesn't normally happen. This is a very unique edge case, but I'm worried that people might now just remember this one so strongly, and it becomes the, what's it, like 99 times 100, but people only remember that one time because it was so significant.
And it's going to affect them in different ways if they're going to be resistant to patches, because if they don't patch their systems, then they're just going to have vulnerable, out of date resources and operating systems that can just be hacked anyway. So
the hackers will take them down. I mean, that's what we did in our post today, right? Was security is meant to be stop you kind of going down, keep your businesses up and running. When security becomes the reason that you've been knocked down, somebody messed up, and it's true. But the other side of that coin is, don't sacrifice your security because you're worried that the security vendor will take you down, because the attackers will also take you down. And I was doing some research the other day for kind of small businesses. We're doing a security program to help small businesses kind of level up their security maturity, and I found a stat that, pinch of salt always with stats, but 60% of small businesses that suffer a cyber incident, they fold within 6 months. So that's just shows how kind of important this is, that security incidents can take you down just like this. I hope we don't see anyone folding because of this. Maybe because it's so widespread, it kind of levels the playing field a little bit. Certainly levels the playing field in the stock market, right? That whole thing has come tumbling down.
Yeah, definitely. So they fold just because of the breach, because it cost them so much money. Maybe they have to, you obviously have to pay fines afterwards if you don't have like a certain level of cyber insurance as well.
Good question. The correlation is between when the cybersecurity incident happens, when they go out of business. It doesn't. Yes, those costs could contribute. Doesn't necessarily mean there weren't other problems that they wound down. So hence why I said pinch of salt. But those things will contribute to why they'd want to go down. Loss of consumer trust as well, which is something you can't really measure. I wonder how CrowdStrike and Microsoft are going to feel this loss of consumers' trust. I think Microsoft are in a pretty good position where people aren't going to all of a sudden start buying Macs or Linuxes, because that's a lot of time of training to get people skilled up on them, replace your SharePoint or OneDrive or whatever. But maybe CrowdStrike might feel the hit a bit more, because there are lots of competing security vendors, lots more endpoint detection and response tools. In the style of the BBC, we could list them all, or say there are other ones available.
Yeah, I've worked with SentinelOne before. They're a great company, great bit of technology. I bet they're going to be rubbing their hands and they thinking, this is great. This is a great marketing ploy for us. We can jump off the back of this.
You've seen that, and there's always the fine line between capitalizing on and trying to solve a problem versus ambulance chasing. I have mixed views of people who kind of go after kind of those product lists after this, but empathy, guys, because I think it's CrowdStrike today. It could well be your company tomorrow. It does. I think it's a lesson that we can learn. So we talk about lessons for the users. If I could focus now on lessons for maybe CrowdStrike and Microsoft, and to be honest, everybody else, I think this is becoming more and more practice in the industry. Free markets pressures, something we've actually talked about quite a few times with like this AI kind of problems, like people pressuring to get new products out and be innovative and be first. That same pressure is felt in every kind of tech business. And there are steps that you should be taking. Quality assurance, where you're basically checking, you spend 3 extra days with a big security team and try and break what you've created, try every possible way to smash it against the wall and see what damage it can cause. And afterwards they go, oh, we're happy, you can ship it out. That costs money. That delays releases. If they find something, you have to go back to the beginning, kind of go and fix it. So some board members, some people, some chief technical officers, people with more money in their eyes than anything else, think, hey, how much money could we save if we cancel this step? We'll be out quicker. We'll have to not spend less money on those people to do it, and we'll be more competitive. Our stock prices will rise. Our board will be happy. That's an example where capitalism puts pressure, or free markets put pressure, which is kind of negative, and it leads to a bit more of a Wild West cowboy type development. I think that's what's happened here. I think there can't possibly have been enough testing on CrowdStrike's side to see that this would break everything for it to have so easily broken the entire world's IT. Exaggeration, but not far off.
Yeah, they not got like a staging environment or something where they could, push changes out to and see how it reacts.
Yeah.
I'm sure they do, but yeah, something's gone wrong. Something's gone catastrophically wrong.
Yeah. And I'm sure that they would say, to be fair to them, we haven't got them on, that this was a different type of update, that they do have that process in place. I just did notice this, the CrowdStrike CEO in his tweet said this wasn't an update, it was a channel file update or something. I forgot the exact word. But yeah, a channel file, which I think I think it's used in DLL libraries, dynamic link libraries, so it has some sort of relevance. But he seemed to kind of suggest that, because it was that, it's not really an update. So maybe that's why these proper policies weren't before. This is speculation, let's be clear, but I think this is what every tech person's been doing this morning. Hey, how could this possibly have happened? What do we think has happened? And hopefully we'll get a nice write-up, and then they'll come out hands held high and say, here's exactly what happened, here are the lessons learned, because yeah, this could happen to anyone.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't dissuade other companies from steering away from cybersecurity related services, or MDR services or EDR services, because
yeah,
there's already a massive cohort of companies in the UK, in the US, worldwide, where they're in a strange place in their business life cycle where they haven't got any security services. Maybe they've just got the basics, and they're happy with the amount of money that they're making, the level of risk that they're applying to their business. And it's the age-old saying of, it'll never happen to us, we're okay, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then until they actually get breached, then they have to pay out a load of money, insurance, fines. Then they have to allocate a certain level of budget to security for the next quarter, and then it's ended up costing them 4 times as much than they originally would have if they had just brought in some security services in the first place. But yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but
yeah,
it's been a great day for the bystander, to be honest, to just watch all the different articles coming through, all of the mainstream media, like BBC and those types of entities. Like I've been enjoying reading the write-ups from those people, because I'd love to know where they all get all their different sources from and how they corroborate everything. And everyone's got a slightly different version of the story, which is interesting.
Stories. I feel like they're just copying each other, and it's a bit of Chinese whispers, if that's not the PC term anymore, but I think you know what I mean. Because I've seen some of them just blaming Microsoft and no mention of CrowdStrike, when surely that's what's happened here. Though we mentioned in there'd be some inside scoops here, and we have 2 friends of friends. They're kind of removed from us, so take this what you will, but somebody who might be on the inside of Microsoft suggested that they don't know yet, but Microsoft's cloud outage could be unrelated to CrowdStrike and just be a coincidence about the time, which seems crazy to me. But let's find out in a few days. I reckon maybe a week we'll know exactly what happened there. The other one, we worked with a lot of people in our time in Security Operations Center, haven't we, Rob? And they've gone all over the place. Some of them may have ended up in the CrowdStrike team as well. And the only information that we got kind of out of there through, I don't forget, a friend of a friend, was usually they have, I think it was 500 tickets a day. They came into work and there was already 2,000.
Wowzers.
So yeah, it was a tough day to be them, and I feel for the people working, because you are going to be dealing with this for a while. Rob, if you remember when I joined, you were in a war room because there was a small issue with just one customer rather than all of the customers, but that took everyone's extra time and resources, and so much so that I wasn't hired for 3 weeks. They pushed it out because no one had time to train me.
It was. I remember that war room was going on for a good 2 weeks, and it was drama, and it was only related to one customer. And we were trying to do root cause analysis to see where the breach originally occurred. And imagine CrowdStrike. They've affected thousands of companies. Yeah, we do have some guys that are working at CrowdStrike. I don't think we'll be able to get them on the pod for comment at all, but we'll just commentate from afar.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been fun to talk about this. It's been fun to speculate with the community. School.com/cybersec is where we've had like 10 posts about it, people coming in with different angles. There's different conversations under each, and that groupthink has been really helpful for me to understand what I think about it and what might have happened, as well as explore. It's fun to explore the rabbit holes, the ones that the supply chain compromise, which now we're pretty certain is not the case, but was fun to talk about. Turns out Occam's razor, I think I said to someone today, when out of all the explanations, it's usually the simplest one that is right. And so it's probably just a mess up in that kind of dev testing and pushing it out. So Rob, any closing thoughts?
It would be fun if it was actually a hacker.
It would be.
It would be fun. But yeah,
we don't.
No, we don't, but it would be fun. But that is the main way that you can get hold of us and engage in some interesting conversations and debates. It is in our school community. So that's school.com/cybersec. And yeah, that's where the majority of our core audience is knocking about and interacting with us. Obviously, we still reply to DMs on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram, but that is where the interesting conversations are happening. So get involved. That's
where it's at. That's absolutely where it's at. So Rob, it's a Friday afternoon. The sun is shining in my face. It's a scorching day in London today. This has been good fun to jump on for the emergency pod, but I think we got our lives to get back to. What do you say?
I've got to go live on Instagram in about an hour and a half. You enjoy the fun.
I will. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time today. This has been a different thing than we normally do, the emergency podcast.
Emergency pod. Yeah. Let us know if you like these emergency pods, and we'll do some more.
Bonus content for everyone on the YouTube.
Yeah, it is bonus content. So sick.
I think this is why my computer keeps crashing, Rob.
It must be.
I just can't take him down.
Looks so chilled there as well.
All right. Catch you next week. See you on Wednesday.
Yeah. Nice one.